How y'all doing tonight? I'm Richard. Welcome to Richard in the Kitchen. Tonight we're going to be making up some Italian meatballs, and they are so good. Man, I tell you what, this will make you slap your grandma, I guarantee you. It's easy to do, but it takes a little bit of time. It's going to take about 2 hours. You can serve this up with pasta or many other dishes, or you can just eat them in a meatloaf sandwich or a meatball sandwich. Man, they're good like that too, but this is a great recipe. So with that said, let's get over the ingredients. I'll show you what you're going to need. Alright, what you're going to need is a meatloaf mix. All grocery stores, they sell this. It's kind of a pork, beef, and veal mix. Some Parmigiano Reggiano cheese, the good stuff. Some breadcrumbs that I made homemade. I processed in the food processor. Going to need an egg, 2 leaves of basil, a tablespoon of milk, and a small finely chopped onion, about 1.5 cans of tomato puree, some olive oil, and some salt and pepper. And also what we're going to need for this is some red wine when we go to make our sauce. Alright, let's start assembling this meatball mix here. Alright, the first thing we're going to put in, you need a big bowl. And like I said, I made these breadcrumbs. What I did is I took some Italian bread and I just tore out the middle of it, and I processed them in the food processor, so we just dump them in there. The next thing you want to do is add your milk, and then your egg, and we're going to mix this up together. Now, about 1/4 cup of good Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. Man, I tell you what, it's about 4 tablespoons, 1/4 cup. I guess it's a lot. But I tell you what, one thing that's key, I think, in making these meatballs come out so good is separating the way you do this by mixing these ingredients up first before you add the meat. That way you don't overwork the meat, which a lot of people do, and that's why your meatballs come out tough and all of that. Now, what we'll do here, we'll set this aside just a second. We're going to take our basil leaves, just 2 basil leaves, because basil tends to be very, very strong, and you don't want to overpower your dish with that. So you just cut this up fine, throw that in there, and we're also going to throw the garlic in there. Now you can mince this garlic if you want to. What I like to do on this dish here is I just like to grate it up so that you don't have any big chunks of garlic in your meatball. Just 1 garlic will do. Try not to cut your fingers when you're doing this. Alright. And once you got that mixed in there, add you some salt and pepper. Now, a word of caution about salt. Keep in mind that you're using the Parmigiano Reggiano cheese, and it's very salty. So go light on your salt. Your extra salt there. So what we'll do, get me a spoon here, and we'll just give this a good toss. That milk really makes this moist, and you just want to mix this up till you get it all finely mixed in there before we add the meat. So the first key, I think, is mixing these ingredients up first before you add your meat. That way you don't overwork your meat, because if you start compressing that meat too hard, you're going to lose a lot of moisture inside that meatball. Okay, that looks good. Let's go ahead and add our meat. Now this meat, it's a meatloaf mix. It's a combination of beef, pork, and veal. You just lay that in there. Excuse me just a second, let me give you a fork. Just break that up with a fork. Then we'll get our hands down in there like a working man. and form our meatballs. Man, I've been looking forward to this for a long time. Alright, so we got that mixed up pretty good. Now let's get our hands in there and just kind of mix all those things up. And like I said, be delicate with this. Don't go manhandling this meat because you don't want to overwork it. You want to keep that moisture in that meat, yet get all your ingredients that you mixed in there. Man, look at that. That looks so good. It almost looks good enough to eat now. I don't think that'd be too good for me. My gut might not like me too much here. Alright, that looks pretty good. Give me a chance to wash my hands and we'll start forming these meatballs. Alright. I like small meatballs. Like I said, don't compress these things. Just kind of form it. Because what we're going to do once we get these, see about like that, not too big. Just in case I have leftovers, I want a meatball sandwich. You make them too big, they're just not going to fit inside that bread very well. And like I said, just very gently do this. Don't go compressing them. Man, look at that. I can't wait to eat this. Now what we'll do as we get these meatballs formed, we're going to braise them. That's another important step. Never ever forget to braise, sear, saute, whatever word you want to use, your meatballs. You're not looking to cook them. You're just looking to braise them. And then we'll make up our sauce, and I'll show you what to do and how to finish these things off. Man, don't they look good. Alright, we've got our meatballs formed. I don't know, I got about 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 of them in there. It looks like I'm going to have some leftovers to have me a meatball sandwich tomorrow. So, let's go ahead and start braising these. Let's move over to my stove here and I'll show you how to do that. Right. Let's start braising our meatballs. Take a touch of olive oil. Not much, just a little bit. I've got it on medium-high heat. And what we'll start doing is braising these meatballs. Now be careful when you pick these things up. They are very fragile. Very, very fragile. So you just set them in there. You want a deep pan for this because when we add our sauce, you want those meatballs to kind of swim in that sauce for about an hour and 45 minutes. That's the downside of doing this, but I tell you what, the love you put into these things, it'll be worth it, man. I tell you what, these things are so good. Now what we're doing here is we're braising these meatballs on medium-high heat. We don't want to cook these things through. Don't touch them, don't overwork them, don't do nothing to them. Leave them alone until they braise on one side, and then we'll flip them, and then we'll start doing our sauce. And we'll set them aside while we do our sauce, our onions, and I'll show you how to do that. They've been going about 2 or 3 minutes. Let's go ahead and flip them. You see that color on there? That's what you're looking for. You're not looking to cook these things on all sides. You're just looking to do top and bottom. Just to seal some of those flavors in there. Man, it smells good in here. There's nothing like homemade Italian meatballs. Man, I tell you what. Give them all a flip. And we'll let them go a couple minutes on that other side, and then we'll be ready to take them off and start our sauce. Alright, our meatballs are braised. Man, look at that color. Look at that right there. That's what you're looking for. And we'll take them off, we'll plate them up. Like I said, be careful with them because they're not all the way cooked through yet. Pretty color. And that just seals those flavors in there of all that mixture we put. And we'll plate these up, set them aside, and we'll get started on our sauce. Don't that look good? For our sauce, put a little bit of olive oil in there, and our onions. Man, I love that sizzle. There ain't nothing like that sizzle. No matter what you're cooking, man. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to sweat these onions. I'm going to hit it with a little bit of salt to help them sweat a little bit more. Like I said, I kind of salt every stage of whatever I'm cooking. We'll get this browned up, and I'll show you what else I'm going to put in here before we add our puree. That smells good. Cooking onions. Oh, God, dog. That just smells so good. All right, we'll let these cook just a few minutes, and then we'll add the other ingredients. Onions browned up nicely. All right, now, what you want to do now is add some red wine. I use just cheap wine that's drinkable. You can do that too. I use a Merlot when I'm cooking. You just want to put in about a quarter cup in there. Oh man, that smells good. Oh man, I might even have to have me a glass of wine. All right, now from that you add your puree. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. It smells so good. I'm probably going to use about 1.5 cans just to make sure those meatballs, now I'll probably just use the whole thing. Those meatballs have enough water to swim in it. Actually. Alright, I'm going to add just a tad bit of water. We'll stir this up. Oh God. And we're going to cook this on low heat for about 1 hour and 45 minutes. Look at that. Can y'all see that sauce? That red wine and those onions in there. Ha ha ha. Man. I'm going to serve this up with some spaghetti tonight. Might even have some Italian bread with some olive oil and black pepper dip. Cold beer, of course. But, pardon me. Sorry for drinking in front of you like this, but man's got to do what his man's got to do, especially when he's cooking something like this. All right, now let's add our meatballs into the sauce. Again, be careful with them. Got to treat them like a woman. You got to barely make sure, just get them down in that sauce. Oh Lord. And like I said, you want to use a deep pan because you're using quite a bit of sauce here. It's popping at me. It's talking to me. And we'll get those down in there, then we'll spread them out and cover them up and let them finish cooking. Man, looks good. Golly. Golly. All right. Once you get them in the pan, you just make sure they're sunk good enough. Be careful with them. Again, I know I keep saying that, but I'm telling you, they'll break apart if you're not careful with them, because keep in mind, they're not cooked all the way through. They're just braised on top. Oh man, look at that right there. Oh God. Ah, goodness gracious. Get down in there, little baby. All right. All right. Hour and 45 minutes is all it takes to cook these babies up. Then I'll say it'd be time to eat. Alright, it's been a little over an hour and 45 minutes. And what we're going to do now, we're going to take this big bunch of basil leaves, finish our dish off. That smells so good. The last couple hours, it has smelled so good in here. Man, I just love it. Alright, let's mix this basil up in this tomato sauce here. And these meatballs, look at that. Look at that meatball right there. Man, I can't wait to eat this. Check this out. All right. Now, what I like to do is I like to take meat, some meatballs, and we'll just place them in there. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. It smells so good. Man. Now what I like to do is I like to hit this with just a couple of strokes of Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. Not much. Look at that. Alright. I'm going to take a picture of that one in just a minute. Let's give this a taste test here. We'll just take this, man, it's hot too. Let me get me a fork. Alright, cut into that. Ooh, Lord. I tell you what, it's like I said at the beginning of this episode, this will make you slap your grandma. It's hot. I'm gonna eat me some spaghetti meatballs. I got my spaghetti ready over there. Mmm. My God, that's good. That's good. I apologize for eating in front of you. But man, these are good. Whew. I'm gonna take me another bite. Perfect. Give this a try. Man. It's not only good, it's pretty too. Alright guys, give this recipe a try. Authentic Italian meatballs. And don't forget, be nice to everybody you come in contact with. They'll appreciate it and make you feel good too. See y'all later. Bye-bye.